Ladies and gentlemen, a Republican conference met today to talk about our victory in terms of getting the troops the money they need to do their job in Iraq. We've been at this fight for the last 4 months, and we're finally there. I think the unfortunate thing is that it took us almost 4 months to bring the Democrats to realize that our men and women in uniform are fighting for our security and our protection in faraway lands, and they deserve our support. And the only thing that's happened over the last almost 4 months is that they've gotten a message from Washington that has hurt morale over in Iraq and those that are fighting for us, and I think sent the wrong message to our enemy. But finally, I'm glad we're there, and I'm glad we'll have this bill finished tonight and get it on the President's desk so the troops have what they need in order to get victory for the United States.
I think in the first few months of this Congress, our members holding together, everything from the recommittal strategy, where we've amended the bills more with recommittal in the first few months of this Congress than the Democrats did in 12 years. Last week, the 11th successful recommittal exceeded their 12-year number. Our members sticking together on this very important fight, where we refuse to set deadlines and refuse to tie the hands of the commanders in the field. Our members were there until we won, and we are winning that fight today. It's an important fight for us to win. It's time for this Congress to start doing the work of the Congress. You know, we passed a lot of bills that we were opposed to in the first 100 days, none of which have become law. 26 bills have now gone to the President's desk, 10 of them named a public building. One of them was a CR to continue funding the government, and I suspect nobody listening today has any idea what the other 15 were. No significant legislation has passed this Congress. It's time to get beyond the theatrics and the melodrama of just talking about things that have no chance of becoming law and passing laws. Today we're passing an important bill that supports the troops in the way the troops deserve to be supported. And that's because Republicans in the Congress says we're not going to do the wrong thing. We're going to fight until we get the right thing done and the troops supported in the right way.
Today's outcome on the supplemental is a relief for our men and women in uniform who finally will be getting the resources and reinforcements that they have deserved from day one. And I'm glad that our conference has remained unified in opposing surrender dates and in opposing tying the hands of our officers and commanders on the ground who actually know about what's going on. But it highlights the missed opportunities that this new majority has allowed to pass by. Missed opportunities to put in place any of their 6 for 06 agenda because they chose to be partisan instead of trying to bring in all members of the House who were duly elected to craft the right product for the American people. Missed opportunities to improve the image of the House as an institution, backing away from important ethics and lobbying reforms, in fact, in many cases, watering them down below what they were in the last Congress. Missed opportunities to clean up the earmark process that people are so fed up with and frankly have led to confrontations on the floor and motions of personal privilege. And that's unfortunate, but the positive thing as we head into this very important Memorial Day work period is that the resources for our troops will finally be on the way because Republicans stood strongly to get them everything that they deserved without all of the strings and deadlines that would have hampered their mission and made that place a more dangerous place than it is anyway.
The partisanship that's held up this funding for 4 months has not been lost on our troops or the American people. I'm so glad that we're able to move on and give us a more positive message to our troops, because I wish you could read some of my emails that say, you know, does the Congress support what you've asked us to do? And we're saying, of course we do. And so now the funding is there, will be there with this vote that's so important for them, important for our troops, the people on the ground, but also important for us to move on in a meaningful agenda and turn to some domestic issues that really deserve our support and our attention, and that's certainly not what's been happening.
As we leave here today and go back to our districts, we will join America's families as they enter the Memorial Day holiday, the beginning of the summer vacation season. They will do so and travel paying what is virtually the highest price of gasoline in U.S. history. And we have seen for the last 5 months continued promises on the part of the Democrats that they would do something to help the American families in addressing the increasing price of fuel. And to date, yet again, promises made, promises broken. In contrast, our party has continually offered long-term solutions, intermediate and short-term. When we return from the Memorial Day recess, you will see a comprehensive energy bill introduced by the minority, by the Republican side, and it in specific will be aimed at helping American families in terms of affording the cost of fuel over the summer vacation.
I'm a numbers guy and a political guy, and I probably pay more attention about what goes on outside Washington and frankly how the American people view Washington than I do anything else. And when we're leaving here with an approval record of 27%, you know, you've got to label in a political sense the first 4 months of the Democratic Congress as a failure. And when we're leaving with the biggest single accomplishment being passed mostly by Republicans and a few Democrats, that is funding our troops in combat, then that's got to again be defined as a political failure by the Democrats. We're going to have a little message waiting on a few of our friends across the aisle in about a dozen or so districts who ran on a lot of pledges that frankly did not materialize in the first 12 months. So we'll have some radio ads, we'll have a lot of telephone calls, and we'll have a lot of emails, and we think some tough questions are going to be asked about why a Congress that began with high hopes is now in partisan gridlock and failing to pass anything of any significance.
You know, when we go home, the American people ought to be asking questions about broken promises. The Democrats said, give us the majority and we'll give you fiscal responsibility. Yet they give us a budget that is way overspending. They say fiscal responsibility. They give us a supplemental loaded with pork. And they give us a budget that gives us the largest tax increase in American history. This is their idea of fiscal responsibility. They tell us we have a plan for energy in this country. And the only thing they give us is something that cuts the ability of Americans to produce the oil and gas that we need in this country. We think the Republicans have said from day one, we need to have the fuels that are necessary to run our economy and come up with alternatives. But the Democrats' promises have not been kept.